All right, you good?
Yep.
You gonna be mad at me that I'm going to Ohio? I'm being
No.
in Ohio
I'm
Stadium.
just I- I'm just playing into it at this point.
You're playing into the fact that I will be in your rival, dare I say, your biggest rival's stadium. Would you say that Ohio State is your biggest rival as a sports fan?
Uh, yeah, yeah. I mean, that's like the rivalry that like you respect. Like
Yeah.
there is like respect there, just because it's two great programs. It's funny because I was just listening to a podcast of Michigan guys talking about this, and they're like, yeah, like Ohio State, like they're like even though there's like some hatred, like there's some like respect. Like you don't get a lot of like extra, like yeah, there's some like skirmishes and stuff like that, but like the rivalry that's
Skirmish.
like truly like toxic is Michigan State.
Dang. Okay. See, that's because if I had to put it in perspective for me, I I think Missouri as a state, just in general, the state of Missouri is my biggest rival, and then like K State is just little bro. Like a
Yeah,
friend of mine went to K State. Well, it's just little bro, so it's whatever. Like, all right, it's like chill, little bro.
yeah,
Like,
and
like
that's
it's a
how
little
it used
brother.
to be with, and that's how it used to be with Michigan State.
Yeah.
But it got just nasty, like 20 like 2010 on. It just got like ridiculous
Well,
for several different reasons.
I'm keeping all this in, but
That's fine.
we're back once
Th-
again.
this is how Bustin' with the Boys starts their podcast. It's just like they're just like mid conversation, just talking about things, and then here we are.
See, I think I may have only listened to their show once when they were with Barstool,
What?
and then after they left Barstool, to me, like if you once you leave Barstool, it's whatever. Like I wish you well, but I care about the ecosystem, not the ecosystem. I care about the world that is Barstool compared to like Pat McAfee. Like I wish him well, but once he left
Yeah,
Barstool, it's like well, like he left Barstool to make Barstool. So I wish you well. I hope you do what you do really well. And what I said well three times, but you know
yeah,
that's one of those things where it's just like I like the Barstool world so much that it's like your team. Like if you have a team, I guess you're a Michigan guy, you're a college guy. You have a player that's on your team. If they go to if they transfer in the portal, it's like I wish you well. Like Flory, I forgot how to say his last name at the moment. He was on Kansas for 2 years and he transferred. It's like I still enjoyed him as a player. I still want him to do well eventually when he goes to the NBA. But you know, it is what it is. You're on a new team now, so
yeah.
I can't really.
Like Hunter Dickinson,
I mean, Hunter Dickinson's a whole different story.
but from my vantage point,
It's May 30th, the day we're recording this, and there's like 2 months, I think, until that show at the end of July, and I think the vibes couldn't be higher. If that makes sense at all, I don't know, but I will say that I am more excited to hang out with everybody and walk around and just experience it all than I am to buy anything. And I'm at the point where I don't know if I'm going to buy anything at said card show at the end of July. Thoughts?
yeah, yeah. No, I mean, I think it's a great because I feel like the national is it's an event, and it's an event for a lot of people have agendas, goals. Some people feel obligated that they have to make something happen because they can hang their hat on like this is my purchase from the national, and that's like a cozy, feel good type of thing. Like you're excited, you come home, you're like proud of like maybe something that you picked up, but there I think when you try to force the issue a little bit, that's when you can have like buyer's remorse. You can have um, some added pressure going in that doesn't really need to exist. And this year more than ever, I think, is the show to try to adopt that mindset. And it's easier said than done for a lot of people. But the fact that I think you have that going in is really good. And if you happen to see something that you feel like you want to, like, you know, splurge on, then, you take that opportunity and see what you can do. But yeah, I think, looking back, like at past nationals, I can think of one example, like 2021. I think everybody probably has stuff that they bought that they regret.
I think
Uh,
everything that you bought, that I bought, that you bought, anybody bought, you
yeah,
regret price
like
wise.
and this is like, so we'll talk about 2021. This will be good, and this will just be like a moment of
Let me look.
like
Memory.
being. Oh, I get. I don't know if you're going to Instagram, but I probably have already erased it from my. I don't permanently delete things.
You like
I
or
will archive
archive
them.
them? Yeah.
Yeah. So t- this is crazy, right? So 2021. Let me set the stage. Summer 2021, the world's kind of, returning to normalcy after, the COVID times. It's still COVID time, but like no one's really like, you know, it's just you're coming out the other side of it. And things are things are really hot. It was, 2 years in the making because the 2020 edition was canceled. Prices were really high, and I personally was, always been a Tom Brady guy, to an extent. It's funny, right? This is the least amount of Tom Brady cards I have. This is actually going to be a longer story than I thought because there's so many kind of branches from this. So I'm just going to keep going. It's 2021, Tom Brady, excitement. They're coming off the Super Bowl. I'm moving to Tampa in a few weeks after that, the Tampa area, a few weeks after this national. And I've been looking for like to kind of commemorate the move and everything. I've been looking for like some Tom Brady, like a Tom Brady Buck stuff because at the time it was pretty rare and it's still not like crazy common. But I wanted a Tom Brady Bucks autograph. I was big into like autographs, and I still am, like especially with Brady, but like not as much as I was at that particular time. And I'm kind of going around, and Brady's at like he's at like a just it's a peak. It's they're or what I thought was a peak. Like he's pretty hot again right now, and we can get into that later if we have time. But I'm the first. It was toward the end of the first day, and Sean and I are walking into like, and if you remember, it was kind of like you had the main room and then you had kind of the back room where you kind of like cross under where it's very distinct where you're kind of moving into somewhere else. And the very first table, when you transition into like toward that back room or back area,
Talking about the colored carpets.
no, no, no. So this is on the other side, like going from like left to right more so than like
Gotcha.
I think of like the carpet areas like the front and the back. I
Okay.
think of the carpet area being the back.
Okay.
This would be like the far right where you kind of like cross into like past the beams and stuff. I don't know if
Continue.
that makes sense.
It doesn't
Yeah,
continue.
whatever. It doesn't matter. Anyways, I look into this showcase and I, I still to this day, it is crazy. I just was so caught up in like the hype and, even like I've never been overly a huge like sticker auto guy. I just gotten done because I was going back and forth on creating stuff with Beckett. Actually, did it at this national. Thank God I did because I made one of my biggest flips based on, and the grade probably helped a little bit, but not like a lot. But it made things very official, especially with this particular card. Anyways, returning from Beckett, come across this card, and it's a Tom Brady, Rob Gronkowski Bucks booklet sticker auto, and I'm like, oh my gosh. Like this is for some reason at the time I remember being excited about it. I think the guy had a 5K sticker on it, which I mean, again, Tom Brady could not have been at the time. Like and even sticker autos were like thousands and thousands of dollars, like just crazy times. And not to say that they aren't today, but at the time it was just like whatever. Like it just to set the stage, like 5,000 for a booklet dual sticker auto. It
That's
was
a
just
lot.
like out of five. Cool car, and it was out of man, I can't even remember the set.
I think it was like the
That's
National Treasures or Flawless or.
no, it wasn't. No, it wasn't any of those.
You
It was
sure?
like
I remember it being
no,
very
no, no.
white.
Yeah, it was. I'm gonna look now. This
Dominion.
makes for great, great viewing content.
I could picture it
Which you're
because I
not
remember
viewing
how
because we're
good it looked.
listening.
It was a great looking card. It just
No, it
sucked that it was
wasn't bad.
stickers.
It wasn't bad. And I was just like, wow, this is so cool because I think my mindset was I can get this for 5K because the dual on card autos, which they don't have a lot of, were selling for like 15 to 20 grand.
That's
And so I was like,
insane.
this is like
That's insane.
decent.
What are
Yeah,
we doing?
yeah. Oh, it was limited.
Limited. Okay, I knew it was something fancy.
And it's overall, like looking back, it's actually not like as bad as like I thought.
It's
Like it's
just
a
a sticker.
decent looking card.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm sending it to you in the chat right
No, I
now.
remember
Sorry,
very very
sorry for the
well.
viewers. And so yeah, I'm just like pumped off this card or whatever. Um,
Oh,
End up
this is not
becoming
what I
not
remember. It looks a lot different
and
than my memory.
end up becoming not very pumped about this card as kind of time goes on. And I just like I was never a sticker guy, but I thought, okay, like this is like I'm not going to pay 15 to 20 grand for like their NT or immaculate or whatever it is that they have a dual autograph in. Like, I'm just never going to do that. So this is like my way of kind of doing that. And Brady and Gronk connected for 2 touchdowns, if I remember correctly, in that Super Bowl against the Chiefs. So long, long, long story short, as short as possible, anyways. Bought this card for 4K and
Oof.
ended up selling it, I think, for 3,200. So, like, yeah,
How many years
not one
later?
of my. What's that?
How many years later?
About a year, I want to say.
Okay, so not like
I'd have to go back and look.
multiple years. What would you think it'd be today, price wise, if you were selling it today?
Well, let's look at Card Ladder right now and see what.
Not a sponsor.
So,
Please sponsor
yeah,
us.
not a sponsor. Shout out, no free shout outs. Um, Tom Brady, Rob Gronkowski.
I found my post from December of 2021 that goes over all of my favorite purchases for the year and pickups and whatever. And I'll go over in a second. But shout out to Past Me for putting where I got each card, like what show or like what location or whatever, because it's very helpful 5 years later.
I actually sold this card for 38.55.
Yeah, that's not bad.
So so I took a little. I for some reason I thought I took a bigger loss on this card.
That's not bad. Would you lose $200 plus shipping and
So after fees,
fees? I guess. Yeah.
right? Yeah, so after fees, 38.55.
So it's a
Math,
55.
great content. 38
We're a math show now.
55 times 0.87 just for okay, so 33.50. So that's probably where I'm getting like 32.50 or
Gotcha.
3,200 in my head. Okay, so I was a little bit closer than I thought. So yeah, all in all, about a $700 or $800 loss, give or take.
I mean, if it's over a
Um,
year, to me, it seems to me it's like you basically just got to enjoy it for a year, and the cost of enjoying it was like less
but
than 1,000. You know what I mean?
this is like a Okay, so this is like a perfect example. So that fall, October 10th, 2021, there's a dual autograph of the two out of 10. Granted, it's on card, National Treasures. It sold for 21K. So like you can even though this was a bad buy and I took a loss on it, there was some like perspective
Yeah.
of like the times. That all being said, um, it goes to your point, and I think we all have bad like really like bad buys, and I think trying to force the hand is like one of the worst things you can do. I think going into the and with the market where it's at right now, very very hot. I think it's there's always going to be opportunities and there's chances to flip and make good money and ride waves and stuff, but you can just as easily get burned or caught up in the hype. And I think our group has done a really good job of not like we've seen how the last like year and a half is kind of shaped out, and how things just keep getting kind of progressively hotter.
Hmm.
And last year you could argue that I mean I thought we were nearing like a peak, and I there's stuff that I wish I would have bought at last year's looking back at like how we are now. Um, so I who knows at the end of the day, right? But like you're starting to hear more whispers of people saying like even I was watching a Dallas blog the other day from the most recent Dallas show a couple weeks ago, and some dealers were kind of like, yeah, like this is kind of getting like borderline silly again. And how much, not to get into too much of a, tangent about like how much is this Fanatics related, how much is it the marketing that they're pumping in, how much is it that, the value of the dollar is kind of meh. So people would rather put their money into something like, like an if they want to call it an asset versus just kind of, letting their dollar
Experience.
depreciate. Um, there's all kinds of different factors, but all in all, to summarize everything, I think your mindset is a very astute one to have, whether it's by, choice, whether it's by circumstance. It's one that I'm going to adopt this year too, more than ever. Um, you know, ever since Cleveland a couple years ago, where I didn't make a single buy, which is, I mean, literally crazy. Didn't kind of felt bummed about it, but at the same time, it's like I didn't make any like mistakes per se, and got to go and hang out and have a good time with the guys that went. Going into this year, I think I know what I'm looking for. Last year, I wish I did kind of do carry out what I had intended to do, which was to get back into Brady harder because all that stuff's crazy. Like I probably wouldn't touch it levels of crazy right now. He's been kind of on my mind, in the back of my mind now for over a year, trying to re-enter that market, but I feel like I missed my window again for the time being. And the tricky part with him, he could ride this kind of wave that the hobby's on, ride it right into his like Hall of Fame, which is going to be coming up here in a couple of years already. That's going to be tough to kind of like, enter that market, especially knowing like where things were and where you could have. And then sometimes it doesn't make perfect sense, but sometimes it's like, if I didn't buy in at this price, why would I now buy in at this price? And to combat that, you could say, well, because tomorrow is going to be more expensive. But I'm kind of content. A lot of the cards I want or that I could afford of his at this juncture are cards that you kind of see every day. And that's kind of also, I think, why I didn't go in as heavy as I would have maybe in the past, is because even though they get more expensive, the fact that they're always available kind of loses its like luster for me a little bit. Like I love his like Michigan rookie autos, and those have always been like a staple in my collection. But I can go find those anytime I want. The only thing that's going to change is like the cost, the price. I will never have a hard time finding them, and that's why I think I've been put off by them just a little bit, even though they're some of my favorite cards in my collection and to collect.
That's honestly why I am kind of out of it in general for the most part, because I'd say majority of the things I look at and I'm like, oh, maybe I want that, are just things that I can get whenever. So to me, if you can get it whenever, why even get it in the first place? And that's why whenever someone is asking, hey, what are you looking for? Can I keep an eye out for something? I just say whatever it is, player, team, and then like number to 10 or less, because then that
Hmm.
way it's a smaller amount and the odds of finding it is slim. And if you do find it, it's a big deal because of how, you know, rare it is, I guess you can say. I do really want to say I found my post of 2021 stuff that I bought at the show. And speaking of silly, crazy, could have been the best quarterback of all time, I bought an Aaron Rodgers rookie PSA 9. And I remember for sure I paid way too much for it at the time. I think in the moment I was like, I remember going back and forth with a guy being like, I want to pay, how about this? He's like, ah. It's like, I think 6 months later that car was worth half the price that I paid. But that's okay. And then, among other things, were what was it? Jose Abreu Bowman Chrome first refractor auto, BGS 95, and then a Chris Bryant rookie auto refractor, BGS 95. Those were two big like PC. Those were like the peaks of my PC for those two players at the time. So that's why that was kind of important to me. And then the main thing from 2021, and Joe, you may not even know about this, or you may have forgotten about this. So during the during the card show at the end of July in 2021, the big thing was CM Punk. And one of the days was when the tickets went on sale for the First Dance show for AEW. And the crazy thing was, that was a sale that I couldn't do because I was not at home. So shout out to my friend Ryan, shout out to my friend Tommy. They were able to attempt the sale,
I
and I
don't
believe
remember this at all.
Ryan got the tickets. And so I remember calling them during, I was at the National, texting with them, being like, hey, do we get tickets? And they're like, yes, we did. Ryan got them. And then I think they called me on like a FaceTime or something. And they were like, hey, we're on the ramp. We're like row 16 or something, but we're on the ramp for the show that possibly Punk is going to debut at. And if anybody out there is listening, let me tell you about that show. Those, by far, are the greatest seats of all time because of
I
where
did
we were
not
at.
know that.
Yes, this
You're
happened at the National.
the origin story of maybe the greatest moment of your like in person wrestling experience or just wrestling experiences. Period. The origin goes back to the national.
Yes, because I was not able to
I
get
think
tickets, so those two were had to try.
I, I think for the 5 year anniversary of this, I like you have to buy a CM Punk card. I'm
Well,
sorry, everything we just talked about is out the window. You have to buy a CM Punk card.
I mean that was something that I was thinking of, and the big thing at that show for me, buying wise, was CM Punk, because I remember talking to a guy, and he was like, "Oh yeah, I collect Punk," and I bought a couple Punks from him, and then I was like, "Oh, there's the CM Punk card I've been looking for forever. It's a Blackhawks card, and it's got a piece of like the jersey, and then and then his autograph, and he's in a Blackhawks jersey." The guy turns around, goes to his PC box, pulls out the red relic, the white relic, and the black relic, and he's like, "You looking for these?" And I'm like, "Yes." And he's like, "I'll sell you one of them." And I bought the red one. And then, as a as I want to say a repayment, just because he was nice, and he was also a Kevin Owens fan. So just the fact that he collected Kevin Owens, he had a couple super fractors of Kevin Owens from that 2020 Chrome set, and I remember
Gee,
finding a Topps UFC 1 of 1 gold auto of CM Punk, and I wish I would have bought it for myself. Now looking back at it, knowing how much it was, I walked over to that guy's table and I said, "Hey, are you interested in this? Because I found it." And one of his like workers or something followed me over there and bought it for the guy. I hope that guy still has it to this day. If not, I will be upset because that's one of my biggest regrets from that show is not buying that, because that to me was very cheap, all things considered. And I don't have a UFC Punk auto, and I would like to have one, but to be honest, it's not that big of a deal anymore. So that would have been the one, and I'm sure that is worth a lot more than
does
what it is
this
now.
does this gentleman still set up?
To be honest, I don't know. I feel like he does because like I just don't remember his face. I don't remember what he looked like. I don't remember his store. I might be able to go back and look at pictures, but
So he had them, but they weren't like for sale.
what do you mean?
The KO Supers.
Yes, because he brought them with because he had his PC box, and that's where he got or he pulled out the
I feel
Punk.
like this guy's probably got to be on Instagram, and we could probably find who this is.
Yeah, I don't know. I forgot what set the Punk 1 of 1 was from. I might have a picture. I'll have to go back and look through pictures from 2021 card show at the end of July, because that was on my old phone. But shout out to that guy, because I remember buying like maybe 2 or 3 Punk autos from him, and we were talking about like, oh, could happen. You never know, and it's one of those things where at this point I just feel like I have a grasp on what's gonna happen in wrestling, even though I don't follow it as much as I did 5 years ago, 10 years ago, whatever. And that was one of those things where it's like, well, Punk is obviously going to be at the show. They wouldn't hype it up this much if he wasn't. So you got to buy it ahead of time. And then fast forward a couple of years, and
Yeah,
AJ Lee returns, and I bought that one. I bought that card of her from FCW from the show last year, and that was pretty good timing. So
it's funny how like arguably the best timing to buy wrestling would have been then, when everything like it just hadn't quite like it was obviously on the up and up like everything else was, but it wasn't like to where it's at now.
yeah, but at the same time, I think there are some wrestling things that are currently selling or being listed that are a lot cheaper than I would think, just because people are so focused on the gold medal, and I'm over here looking at the bronze medals. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, 100%.
So that's kind of the one thing where it's like everyone's marking out over these WrestleMania patches, and I'm at the point where they're not even cool anymore because you see it so much. And I was at that Mania. You would think that it'd be more to me, but because of how unattainable those cards are, it's not even in my it's not even on the list to make the list. So that's why I just don't care about it. And again, when people go one way, I try to go the other. And I it would be cool to see if I can find a Punk, but again, I'm not gonna force it. I'm not gonna try to find something. There's like 1 or 2 things that I would like to find at the show that should be dirt cheap compared to 2021, but we'll have to see when we get there, because it'll probably be in like a cheap bin that I'll have to dig through, because I don't think it's worth much anymore. Someone probably paid a
That's
lot for it.
that's that's what every like every year that kind of like sounds fun, and then the time comes and I'm like, I'm not doing that.
I'm not digging in a box. If you see me digging in a box, I'm bored. You know, because that's the thing is there's too many people that it's just not worth it unless it's a small section of like WNBA or something like that where I'm just going through, or there's like a team. Occasionally I'll see like the Charlotte Hornets. I'll just look through, see maybe there's a Devonte Graham one of one in there, just hiding. But it's got to be something specific. I'm not going to stand there for more than 5-10 minutes looking at a box because at the end of the day, it's not worth it at all. I'm one of those people that walk around. You look at the showcases. You walk to the next table. There's a million people around it. You kind of look over the shoulders like you're at a concert, and you just kind of see what you can see, and maybe you find something that catches your eye, so you try to squeeze through and you wait for it. But some bloke has got their Zion case on top of the glass table, and they got millions of cars they're trying to sell with the deal. It's just a whole thing, and that's why I'm just there for the vibes. And I think in past years I would go into it being like, oh, I want to find this, this, and this, and I know I would make lists, and that would be a big topic of discussion of what's on your card show at the end of July list, and you would be so, you know,
Like
set
tunnel
on
vision.
on like checking off that list of like I want to get one, you know, White Sox autograph and one Blackhawks and one wrestling, and it would be a big thing. And now it's just I'm not going into it wanting to buy anything. So hopefully that means I will find something to buy, because last year I was set on selling, but I also did want to find something to buy. But once I sold all my stuff, it became okay, I would rather keep the money from what I just sold and then continue on
Yeah.
than, you know, spend all this money on something and be like, oh, why did I spend that much money on ink and cardboard? Because at the end of the day, that's what I think of. And again, I do think having things after the national to look forward to that aren't card related does help me a lot. Last year it was, actually it's the same thing. It was, having concerts lined up a month or two after the national. Same thing with
We
this
also
year.
thought we also thought we were going back to Vegas.
That's true too. But again, there's still trips that I am thinking of, and that now there's more things going on where I'm like, I don't need this $400 autograph of John Cena. I need this, or I need to save it for that. And again, I'm just gonna be there for the vibes, And plus, we got this
Yeah,
whole microphone thing that I worked myself into doing. We're gonna do a live show from the national. Not really live, but it's just gonna be like I got the microphone stick where we're walking around, just
getting
getting
quotes.
audio. Nothing but audio. Think of a card show vlog with no video. That's what we're doing. And I'm excited for that more than anything. And we have two microphones, and I don't know how that's gonna work, because probably for most of it it's just gonna be me holding the microphone and then passing it along to Joe at some point. And then, you know, yeah. That's what I'm looking forward to the most. I'm looking forward to seeing what, like, if you find anything, if Sean finds anything, if Josh finds anything, seeing people that I I know from just cards. You know what I mean? They're in town just for this. It's just you don't really know them outside of cards, but you do, and they're probably at the national. And I think that's, to me, the biggest thing. And I know I say it so much, but it's like the more time goes on, the more I'm going to this show just because everybody else is going to this show.
It's a time to get together, and honestly, too, like I like being in the mix and seeing like kind of bouncing off like thoughts and ideas and vibes off of like my friends who I talk to on a regular basis, and comparing, contrasting like what we think of the show, what we think of the hobby on like a macro and a micro level, based on, because it's always like fair or unfair. Like the national always kind of serves as like somewhat of a barometer, and yeah, I think that's one thing that I love. I love seeing like what Sean and Josh are doing. I love seeing, what they have to say, after each day when we're sitting down for dinner and talking, kind of recapping the day, and like that's like honestly my favorite part, I think,
Yeah, what'd you
because
see?
while the cards and everything are great, it's nice talking,
Stories.
catching up with everybody in person. Despite we talk all the time, but there's just something a little different when you're doing it in person.
Yeah. Lobby train night. I cannot stress enough how crazy it was. It's that same thought of, and again, I compare a lot of this
It's just a
to mania
different
trips and
it's
thinking
a
about how
different
mania trip
energy.
is. Yeah. And it's like you have the main show, you have your fan fests, you have your WrestleMania, but then you have hanging out in the hotel. And to me, the hanging out in the hotel is more fun and you have more stories than the show itself, as at least I do. So that's what I like the most. I I will say again, the closer we get to it, the more excited I am, and it's just all about having that story and having that trip, if you will, and having that experience, and I looking forward to that more than anything.
Yeah, that I think you summed it up pretty well. Just being as raw as possible. I haven't even got a chance to talk to you about this, but I think on our next episode,
Boom.
uh, I, on our next episode, I have a list that I kind of created, and it'll be kind of like a buy or sell. And I'm going to just go down this list, and we'll talk about each topic. And so they're going to be kind of like predictions, and you'll tell me if you're buying that idea or if you're selling that idea or that statement as it pertains to the big show at the end of July.
Well, it's the big show. All right. Well, stay tuned for that next episode. And yeah, for Joe and myself, we'll see you next week.
See ya next week.